All right. We are moving on. We're going to do 10-7, so remember what's going to happen. Then tomorrow you're going to do that last worksheet in your packet and get it turned in. Okay, so we're talking about volume. So we've done area, we did surface area, we're moving on to volume. Okay, so remember, volume of a three-dimensional figure is the number of cubic units needed to fill it. So we're moving into three-dimensional shapes. A cubic unit is the space occupied by a cube with sides 1 unit long. And you need to remember that you're going to label all of your problems with cube, because remember it's three-dimensional. Okay, so really a lot of these are just simply knowing the formula. Okay, now if you get your reference sheets out, you're going to notice on the ISET reference sheet, they give you this formula, and it's just this very broad formula for all of the different volume formulas. Okay, what it really means though is it means the area of the base. So that big B means the area of the base. So anytime you see that big B, you have to think, what is the base and how do I find the area of it? So for example, I look at this shape right here. This is a what?
Rectangular prism.
Okay, it's a rectangular prism. So what shape is the base of that figure?
A rectangle.
It's a rectangle. Do I know how to find the area of a rectangle? Yes. Okay, so here's volume equals base times height, but we have to recognize that that is the area of the base. We said it was a rectangle. Well, what's area of a rectangle? What's that formula? What is that, Brogan? Tell me. Okay, so it's base time, or let's do length times width in this case, because otherwise we get confused with the h. Okay, so it's length times width, and then times the height. So it just becomes three-dimensional. Okay, now let's say, let's make some numbers up here. Let's say that the height is what?
8.
Okay, let's say that the width of this rectangular prism is what?
6.
Okay, and how about
9.
9? Let's go 10. A little bit bigger than that. Okay, so if that's the case, this is the one that you love to see, because these are super easy because I'm just multiplying my numbers together. So volume equals 10 times 6 times 8. And I end up with then what?
2.
What's 6
4,
times 8?
24.
48.
48.
48.
480.
And 48 times 10 is, I heard it, 480. We don't have it labeled, but we're going to label it
Units cubed.
units cubed. Okay? So these, the cubic ones are fairly easy, right? Or the cube or the rectangular prisms. Okay, now look at the cylinder. Okay, so I have a cylinder. They want to know the volume. Well, guess what? I use the same formula, but it's a different shape. But now remember what that big B means. The big B means the area of the base. Well, look at my cylinder. What shape is the base of my cylinder?
Circle.
It's a circle. Okay, do I know the area of a circle? Okay, so this B, remember, is the area of the base. So area of a circle is pi times radius squared, and then you just drop that h down. Okay? And then if I were to go ahead and drop in my values, and we need a radius and a height on this. So let's say that our radius is what?
2.
2? Okay, what's the height of our...
6.
Okay. All right, so in this case, volume is equal to 3.14. My radius is 2. I'm going to square that. And my height is 6. And I'm just going to solve. So 2 squared is
4.
and then times my 6. And somebody put that in their calculator for me, and what do I get?
75.36.
Okay, and again, there's no label, so we're going to put units cubed. Okay, so now the question is that a lot of people run into when you're looking at different shapes or different prisms, especially if you look at your worksheet, sometimes it gets confusing what shape is the base. you want to remember that your base on a prism, you always have parallel bases. So for example, notice that I have a circle here and I have a circle here. That means the circle is your base, okay? This one, those ones are pretty obvious. Look at this shape right here. This shape right here is a triangular prism, right? Well, what if it were sitting like this in my picture? A lot of people want to say that this is the base. But is there another parallel side to that? No. So remember, it's the parallel faces that is your base. So the triangle is actually the base. Okay, so you have to know that, because when you start doing your homework and you have, if it's sitting like this on the page, people get confused and they want to say that this is the base, but it's not the base. Okay, so you always look for those parallel faces. Yes? Makes sense? Okay? Okay, so moving on then. 10.9 is volume of pyramids, cones, and spheres. And these are just formulas that you need. If you see them, you plug in and you know how to use them. So for example, looking at these three shapes right here, I've got a what? Pyramid, cone, and a sphere. Okay, because it's three-dimensional. Okay, so if you come up here, the volume for your pyramid and your cone is the same. It's still the big B times the H, but it's divided by 3. And if you think about that, think about this shape. Isn't it, if I built up my sides, wouldn't this be a rectangular prism?
Yes.
So they're shaving off those sides, and it's actually 1/3 of the prism. So that's where they get that divide by 3 in the formula. Same thing here. Isn't this actually a cylinder if I built it up? Okay, so same thing. It's 1/3 of the cylinder. Okay? And then the sphere is a formula on its own. It's 4/3 pi times radius cubed, all divided by 3. So let's do some. Make sure you know what you're doing. Okay, so remember, the formula is the base times height. Now you're going to see it two different ways. I just prefer this way. I think it's easier to divide by 3 than multiply by 1/3. Okay, but isn't multiplying by 1/3 and dividing by 3 the same thing? Okay? All right, so on this one then, you're going to write your formula down. Volume equals